Raceway on the flatlands north of Melbourne, home of Thunderdome and the top drag racing strip in Australia. On this balmy February night, the nation's top nitro-burning funny cars will face off to decide who will win this three-meeting challenge series. But there's more on the bill than just funny cars, as some of the nation's top drag cars and bikes will make up the supporting cars. A top night's racing and the culmination of a three-event series staged over 4 weeks in Adelaide and Melbourne. But the stars of the night, and for the month past, are the Nitro pilots. At the top of the heap from Florida, Al Hoffman driving the Warlord Team USA car. He's been having an outstanding season, winning at his last 4 outings. Al has 2 ambitions, a clean sweep of the series and a sub-6-second pass at Calder. At the other end of the field, Melbourne rookie Gary McGrath. It's his first season in any sort of race car, but he's chosen well with a 484 cubic inch Keith Black engine Dodge Daytona. Jeff Pratt from Adelaide is back behind the wheel of his Chev Camaro after a major engine explosion that burnt the car to the ground. He's keen to re-establish his reputation as a hard campaigner in the rebodied and re-engined funny car. Working class hero Peter Russo beat Al Hoffman last season. This Melbourne mechanic is hoping that his form holds good this time around and says his Dodge Daytona is up to the task. From Bendigo, Robin Kirby. He's upgraded his alcohol-burning Camaro to nitromethane and is hoping to carve out a name for himself among the front runners. Also from Bendigo, Jim Carter, a long-time campaigner. It's his first season in this Keith Black engine Pontiac Trans Am. Jim has a reputation for running within himself, but has pulled out all stops to get competitive for this series. Back in the driving seat after his major blow-up at Heathcote Park, multi-Australian funny car champ Jim Walton. His Australian Airlines Pontiac Trans Am is primed to perfection for the clash, and hopefully without the gremlins that have dogged his recent appearances.
I certainly love the drags. I think the thing I like about the drags is it's an action sport. The action just keeps coming one after the other, and of course a lot of ability goes into the preparation of the cars, because in 6 seconds, as Jim Walton just said, you certainly haven't got time to do very much to correct any mistakes you may have made.
Well, what are they doing now, this preparation for this first round?
Okay, what they're doing now, they're into the water burnout area where they actually heat the tyres up in top gear. They spin through the water. Now they're coming up into the staging area. They put VHP under the tyres to get plenty of traction, and the car's just motoring down the strip now, pedal to the metal, nose up in the air, and this should be a 200-mile-an-hour pass as he goes through the bottom end. Yes, Jungle Jim started the car up earlier today and had some problems, and looks like they've continued as Peter Russo really gets himself out of shape. The tyres lit up at the halfway mark, but keeps his foot buried in and goes through for a very creditable 6.99 at 217 miles an hour. Okay, Al's just gone into the dry launch area there. He's just checking for traction there to make sure that everything's right, because once he knows that it's set, he'll go up into the staging beams. There's 2 beams on the top of a tree, one to let him know that he's very close. Hal and his wife saying, put it on the line, and it's ready to go. He's now almost in the stage's hands, and down will come 1 amber and then the green.
She really gets involved, Helen, doesn't she, in every facet of the operation?
Yes, as Al said, a very important crew member to be. Okay, this is a very good run. No tyre smoke, no tyre shake, and that's another problem they often have. And look at this for a time, 6.30, fastest time so far this evening at 218 miles an hour.
Well, car okay? Yeah, seems to be. It just dropped a couple of cylinders out there. Yeah, I'm going to make a couple of nozzle changes. The air changed just before we went out, and I didn't compensate for it in the tank, so.
You lose traction in mid-track?
Yeah. It's a little slippery out there. I hope it gets a little bit better.
Well, just prior to the semi-final run, we're going to see an exhibition run here between Jungle Jim, who had that very bad oil leak, and Robin Kirby, whose car failed to fire on the start line before. So this is a little bit of added interest as we can see how much traction's out there and whether the night air has changed very much, because it's very important as the conditions change that the other top fuel drivers are aware of what's happening on that start line. It's very bad oil. Okay, getting the best of the deal is Calder, but have a look at this. What's happened to Kirby? One wheel started to slip and the car got itself all out of shape, and of course that car's gone over. The crash crew's onto the scene extremely quickly. The cars are very, very well put together. I don't expect Kirby to have any problems. In fact, he's moving his arms right now. It'll be a few seconds before we find out exactly what has happened, but the crash crew absolutely first onto the scene. The volunteer firefighters are there as other crew members are rushing up right now, so a very unusual set of circumstances. As yes, and with all that amount of horsepower they've got and the conditions changing as the night goes on, what they've got to make sure is that they don't get too much tyre slippage and the back tyres go up in smoke, as it were, at the halfway mark. Okay, waiting for the lights to come on down the tree right now. Anticipation. Al Hoffman is absolutely dynamite on the lights. The moment that light comes on, this car absolutely flies forward, and that's exactly what it's done right now. Heaps and heaps of flames coming out as that car really putting on the power, has a little bit of a shake and stops the clocks with a very, very quick 6:26 at 230 miles an hour. Okay, Hoffman, of course, so far qualified the quickest car right now, and that says a lot for Jim Walton to try and beat that. And having a look down the track, I don't see Jim Walton's competitor, and it looks very, very much like Jim Walton's competitor, which is the Helen and Peter Russo car, has failed to start. So looks like Jim will be doing a bye run on this pass, and of course that's still very, very important, because if he qualifies quicker than Hoffman, he gets the all-important lane choice for the final. Okay, the big Goodyear Eagles there, those tyres are about 18 inches wide across the bottom and last about 8 competitive passes.
And only about 4 pounds of pressure.
Yes, in fact, some of them go even lower, around about 2.5 pounds, like we'd say we had a flat tyre if that was the case. Okay, Jim Walton right on the throttle here, the flame sticking out. He looks like a good run, shuts off a little bit early, but have a look at this, a 6.179, quicker than Hoffman's, and slowing down through the traps at 220 miles an hour.
So that time means that Jim Walton gets the choice of lanes. And what lane do you think's the quicker tonight?
Well, usually those drivers would be watching everything that's been happening, because prior to the finals, if somebody had the unfortunate mishap of oiling down or something like that, he'd make a last-minute change. He's decided that the infield lane, that's the crowd lane, lane 1 is the better of the two, and that's the lane Jim's going to take. A little bit of psychology creeps into it round about here. You've seen Hoffman do an extremely long burnout, and he's way down the track as Jim Walton starts to backpack. Of course, they've got to try and keep the temperature in those tyres so that they can gain the best advantage of the traction that they've tried to create for themselves. Of course, whoever gets the whole shot, that's an enormous advantage, because you can't really catch up. Okay, both cars really into stage right now. It's about to come down the tree. First stage lit up already. Just creeping forward. And Hoffman away first, gets about a 3-car hole shot, goes up in smoke though, but still controls the car. Walton's off the power and seems to cross the centre line at the halfway mark there. In fact, we may get another look at that in a few moments, but have a look at the times on the clock there. For Hoffman for the win for the first round. And we'll just watch this one again. The power's on. You can see the flames coming out of Walton's car. He gets over the centre line. Actually, that would be a loss for Walton had he not been behind anyway. And as he goes through the bottom end of the strip, have a look at this. He knocks out the lights, those lights in the centre of the track.
Al, a 6:47, final run of the night. Well done.
Thank you. I don't know whether we earned it or not. The track was excellent on the starting line. I think the car was on a good 5-second pass in the first 300 feet until it started to smoke the tires. From there on, I think it was just a driver's race, who could drive through the most smoke, and we took a chance and got lucky.
Adelaide next weekend. Looking forward to it?
Yeah, I've run there before. I like the track. Shouldn't have any problem. I'd like to make this series 3 in a row if we can.
And the point score after round 1, we saw the winner of the event, Al Hoffman, on 35 points. Only 5 behind because of bonus points for low ET, we had Jim Walton on 30. Gary McGrath and Russo in equal 3rd position on 20. Kirby and Calder on equal 4th position on 15, and Jeff Pratt with 10. A week later at Adelaide National Raceway, where the weather was good, the crowd was big, but the track was a little slippery. In the quarterfinals, Jim Calder and Peter Russo had the closest race with a 7:04, 185.95 miles an hour for Calder, defeating Peter Russo 6:78 at a better speed, 193.54 miles an hour. And in the semi-finals, we had a brilliant staging duel which had the crowd well and truly standing on their feet between Al Hoffman and Jim Calder. But the better ET of Hoffman, 763 at 220 miles an hour, defeated Jimmy Calder's 796 at 207 miles an hour. Into the final, it was all Al Hoffman with an 829 at 196 miles an hour, defeating the local boy, Jeff Pratt, 10.69 seconds. And the point score after round 2 in Adelaide, we had Al Hoffman still in the lead on 70 points. In second position was Jimmy Walton with 50 points. Peter Russo in third on 40 points. Carter, Pratt and McGrath equal fourth position on 35, and Robin Kirby on 15. Back at Calder Park for the first time in Australian drag racing history, 9 funny cars firing up at the same time in the Calder Park Fireup. Ladies and gentlemen, let's commence the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can't say anything about Nitro cars. You actually have to see it, feel it and hear it. And that's exactly what's going to happen right now.
Al Hoffman. And what a glorious burnout. Put your hands together for Al Hoffman and Steve Brown. A sensational burnout out of the Warlord Team USA car. Absolutely unbelievable. 3,000 horsepower of Keith Black racing engine burning those tyres to bits, and look how much smoke is coming out of the canopy out of that car. He is smoked in there in lane 1.
Okay, you can see the hatch open now, and it's absolutely pouring out, and as it comes back, you'll actually see a no smoking sign on the hatch. I'll tell you what, he ought to read that himself a bit better, because that is really smoking down there.
And look at the cab, it is so intensely smoked up.
Okay, this could be the first 5-second pass of this current series. We're certainly hoping for it, and what a fabulous night it'd be to not only see one, but to see a pairing of 5s. The man that has, of course, put a 5 in as this man right now last year in America versus Australia.
Okay, the nitro burning fuel funny car of Al Hoffman and Steve Brown. The crew out there being held by Ray Ward and, of course, Helen Hoffman. And Al trying to get a little bit more fumes out of that car. Helen Hoffman out the front of the car, making sure that she's got perfect traction. She told him to go back then, but he took no notice of that whatsoever and said, I want to do one more VHT traction burnout on the start line. The Dodge Daytona of the Warlord USA team. Helen Hoffman, Al's wife, telling him to go to the start line. We're ready to race in lane 1. Don't take your eyes off this one, ladies and gentlemen. The most dominant funny car driver in Australian funny car history ever, coming to the staging beams. Ready to race, restart. And away from the start line. What a beautiful run by Al Hoffman. This is a sister. He goes through and stops the clocks with an ever so close 6.
Oh, there's got to be a 5-second pass in this one right now. 247 miles an hour, only 4 miles an hour off the fastest time ever here at Calder Park. And I'll tell you what, a 6:04, that close to doing a 5, it just doesn't matter. And that'll make all the other drivers out there all the more determined to actually go down and do something about it.
Okay, out of the Hot Shot Racing team comes Jungle Jim Calder in lane 1. Look at the enormous mouth on that fuel injector as it comes around the corner there, sticking out of the top of the Pontiac Trans Am body. And watch the side-by-side burnouts, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Russo's engine standing just a little bit off song in lane 2, but a nitro-burning fuel engine, while it is warming up, does have that problem, Colin.
Yes, it certainly always sounds as if they're almost not running properly, and then all of a sudden you see them come back, get a little bit more heat up, and the next dry chirp that they do, you can really hear that the power's been coming up and up.
Jungle Jim Carter's engine sounding super strong in lane 1, an untraditional burnout for Jimmy Carter. He normally really lays it on us, but of course he can be saving that up for a little bit later on in the night.
Yes, well, of course, he's got to get through this round before he can even be coming back out again, and I guess Jim knows what he's doing out there, and it is an untraditional burnout for Jim. He usually does almost as far as what Al Hoffman did for his last run.
Okay, the VHT traction compound goes underneath the rear of the Jimmy Carter funny car by his young son Darren.
It's amazing how they give those little blurps right now, how much stronger the car sounds than when it did the burnout.
Peter Russo coming into lane 2, getting ever so psyched up over there in the Dodge Daytona. Watch for Jimmy Carter to pull on the Richner on the engine as you see the flames grow on the start line. I think you'll see it out of the Jungle Jim car. I may be wrong. There it is. See the flames starting to belch out of the Jungle Jim Carter car. He has pulled the fuel Richner on that car to develop more horsepower out of the start line. What a race. Look at this. This is a run. Jimmy Carter fireballs it. Jimmy Carter fireballs the funny car, and Peter Russo takes the win with a 6.45 at 214 miles an hour, but Jimmy Carter stops the clock with a 7.30 at 137 miles an hour and a big explosion. And when you've just popped a new blower on the car, a new fuel injector system, that could be a very expensive problem.
Yes, it was very, very low down, so looks like something let go in a big way, but you never know. Of course, Jim would have picked it up instantaneously. That's why he went through the trap so slowly. But of course, even an oil fire on the exhaust will burn as quick as that and go out as quick as that, as he would have hit the fire button almost instantaneously. Anyway, let's hear it as the crews go back for the Helen and Peter Russo Working Class Hero. Well done.
Jim, what happened during the run?
What happened, Ian, the inlet valve stayed open, which caused the back pressure to come through the blower, and it lifted the blower, a slight fire, and it also damaged the clutch. This is a result of the clutch that I was explaining before, Ian. It's a floater plate, which is a 1/4-inch steel. Obviously, the heat got into that and cracked the floater plate, which caused the clutch to go completely. This is the bottom of the blower that you can see here, where it's damaged the Teflon inside onto the rotor. What's actually happened is the valve's broken off and come up through the blower and clipped the rotor.
But something that's going to be all over in a split second is not going to happen now. We're going to see probably at least half a minute of antics for the next 30 seconds. It's about to happen as fast forward. Jim Walton comes through the water. Advanced automatics next to him.
The 7 times Australian funny car champion in lane 1, and Gary McGrath in lane 2.
And the amazing thing about Gary McGrath, the only other competition vehicle he has driven doesn't exist. In other words, this is the first competition vehicle he has ever driven.
Absolutely magnificent stuff. Talk about determination by Gary McGrath. He lists down his best ET and best mile an hour as none yet. So he's not happy with any parts that he's made in this car as yet. He's looking for a good one, and it could be just tonight. He's got a tough customer in the 7 times Australian funny car champion, Jimmy Walton, right in alongside him. Sponsored by Australian Airlines and Burlock Motorsports, and Advanced Automatics behind Gary McGrath over there in lane 2. And watch this guy come up through the funny car ranks over the next few months, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is going places, as Colin said before, in one heck of a hurry. We're looking at his handwritten sheet here, and he's got his best average performance ET, not quick enough, and his mile an hour all fast enough.
And I like where he's got special comments at the bottom. We think it's the best looking funny car here.
And they're certainly not far wrong. They're a very pretty motor car as the Gary McGrath Dodge Daytona in lane 2. And Mike Tydell letting out just a few more fumes out of Jimmy Walton's car before he goes to the start line. As the smoke bellows out of the top of the Pontiac Trans Am. Both coming into stage. Walton stage and ready to race. McGrath in also, waiting for the 1 amber and green light. Jimmy Walton backed out of stage but is now ready to race. And away they go. Great run for Gary McGrath alongside Jimmy Walton. It's a side-by-side run through the finish line, but Jimmy Walton stops the clocks first in lane 2 with a 6.82 at 169 miles an hour, and probably the best run of Gary McGrath's career so far. A 7.26 at 161 miles an hour. So it looks like we've got all clearance from down the bottom end of the racetrack, and they're giving the big wind-up signal to Jeffrey Pratt in Blue Thunder, of course, sponsored by the Adelaide Caravan Centre. And this is a guy going in a big hurry, I tell you, this bloke. He's really been one of the toughest competitors around as this new car has slowly but surely come together and come together ever so strong. He was low ET, set low ET for the meeting over there in Adelaide National Raceway a few weeks ago. The Chevy Camaro body over the top of the Steve Pluger built chassis.
And of course, tonight, the final of the Coca-Cola All Aussie Funny Car Challenge. And I tell you what, fabulous prize money, in excess, I believe, of $50,000 prize money.
And what an attractive looking motor car this is now, Colin, with a brand new paint job. Applied over in South Australia, of course, by Scruff Aslan, one of the guys who've got some of the best reputation for painting vehicles over there. He's put the coat of paint on this funny car and done it beautifully. All done in a week, by the way. We saw this vehicle at Calder Park on January the 30th, and 1 week later exactly I saw it in Adelaide, and it was completely repainted. Jeffrey Pratt claims fame to having the best fire in Adelaide on the October 31st meeting in 1987. And I tell you what, it was an absolutely frightening fire, ladies and gentlemen. The car was totally destroyed. You saw how Jimmy Carter's car caught on fire. Jeff Pratt 12 months ago caught on fire just like that, but he burnt the car to the ground. There was nothing left. The Jeff and Jill Pratt Chevy Camaro funny car. Sponsored by S&D Spray Painting, Schaefer Racing Heads, Wins Australia, Adelaide Caravan Centre, and of course Jayco Caravans. The best run in this car ever was that run in Adelaide where he was low ET for the meeting with a 6.7 at 220 mile an hour. He's a married man with 2 children and lives in Athelstone in South Australia, and of course he is the managing director of Adelaide Caravan Centre. So what a great place to go and buy a caravan from. Certainly has to be one of the quickest caravans around.
Yes, it'd have to be, wouldn't it, with anything that Jeff has to do with.
Jeff Pratt been in drag racing for some 20 years, ladies and gentlemen. And out of the start line, beautiful, as Jeff Pratt heads down the bottom end of the racetrack. A glorious run for Pratty. He stops the clocks with a 6.99. 6.99 for Jeff Pratt at 213 miles an hour. Great run for Jeff Pratt as he has the shoots out all the way through the bottom end of the racetracks and stops beautifully down the finish line. absolutely destroy something. There are bits and pieces all over the racetrack here, Colin. But totally destroyed is one small block Chevy engine. Offered in a big way in lane one, but looks A-OK. Tonight's first round was full of action. The pace in the L. Hoffman pit is frantic. The 484 Keith Black engine has been totally dismantled. Ray Ward assembles their cylinder heads, ready to go back on the engine block. L's wife Helen works on the bottom end of the aluminium racing engine, replacing engine bearings. And look at the strength of the Keith Black racing engine.
What happened on the run?
It just shook real hard. The air was good. It got a bent exhaust valve.
That's why the engine was apart.
Yeah, a little bit of heat got by the exhaust valve and we had to replace it.
The pressure is really on because there is less than an hour to check and repair any damage between rounds. Let's talk to the other racers about the first round and any problems the run may have created.
Yes, well, I was expecting to do like a 6-second run as hard as I could, but unfortunately the car got the shakes up. The rear tyre sort of becomes fairly violent and shakes the car pretty bad, and I had to feather the throttle to try and get rid of that problem, and unfortunately I think at the time I lifted my foot, Jim drove by me, and of course I lost the race. I'm not too disappointed though. Like a 720 is the fastest I've ever gone, and I think it's a stepping stone, of course, to my next one. Hopefully they'll let me do another run later before the final. I'm keen as mustard to do that.
Any problems, Jim?
Oh no, Ian, we're just doing a bit of routine maintenance there, a bit of a tune-up. We took it easy on that first round. We thought we had the opposition pretty well covered, and just took it easy because we didn't want to have to pull the whole thing apart after the first round. We're just still doing a bit of experimenting, hoping to run a good number on the next one.
G Builders sponsored Darabin Motors Mustang 2 funny car.
Okay.
Romeo Capitano backs back, sorry Colin, into this burnout area for a VHT traction burnout. And fire away with what you were going to say.
Okay, I was just about to say the alcohol burners are upon us. A lot sharper sounding than the nitro burners, not perhaps as much power producing noise coming out of it. Certainly a very high pitched noise as you would have heard when you're down on the start line.
Yes, the sound out of them is totally different, and of course a little bit of the alcohol motors were drowned out a little bit in the fire up by the nitro cars, but certainly a different sound. As you say, a much higher pitched sound, and of course Romeo Capitano coming out of Thornbury right here in Melbourne. The 542 cubic inch aluminium Sainty big block Chevy. That's one heck of a big block Chevy, Colin.
That's a lot of motor actually, 540 odd cubic inches. It's certainly a big engine.
And as he gets guided back by the crew onto the traction burnouts that he just laid through the VHT, and believe you me, down there on the start line, that start line is getting awful sticky. Believe you me, there are absolute chunks of traction down there just waiting to be picked up by these funny cars. Romeo Capitano, a guy who is just waiting for the right things to happen in this car, and he's going to be right in amongst it. Okay, Romeo out of the start line beautifully and gets a little bit cross fast up, but this is a great run by Romeo Capitanio as he heads through the bottom end of the racetrack and stops the clocks at a 7:91. What a brilliant run, Colin. And coming in alongside him is Tommy Easton in the Warlord Warrior, and what a pretty looking motor car that one is now, Colin, with a new paint job. Certainly changed the whole spectrum of that car.
Yes, it has, and Tom's quite a character when you talk to him. He still likes the wind in his face. He says, have a look at the burnout from Kevin Christensen.
Yeah.
Unbelievable from an alcohol-burning funny car.
Absolutely fantastic stuff out of Kevin Christensen in the Pontiac Trans Am funny car. The Warlord Warrior coming into lane 1 and guided back by Tommy's girlfriend in Anna out there, and she's going to guide him right back into those really hot, sticky black rubber marks on the asphalt. And Kevin Christensen's son Craig will do the same for him in lane 2 as he gets guided back onto those hot, sticky rubber marks out there in lane 2. Both powered by big block Chevrolet configuration engines. Christensen into stage in lane 2, ready to race, waiting on Tommy Easton to come in alongside him. He's got the pre-stage on. Moves in just that a little bit closer to bring on the stage beam, and here it is, and staged up and ready to race. Both cars away. Kevin Christensen out of the line first, but look at Tommy Easton picking him up as they go side by side through the finish line. It's a close race. Tommy Easton stops the clocks first with an 8:06 in lane 1 at 174 miles an hour to Kevin Christensen's 8:40 at 170 miles an hour in lane 2.
After our little incident here 3 weeks ago, we've had to piece the body back together. It's the same body that fell in half on the track. Replace some of the chassis parts and some of the suspension parts on the front, but apart from that, unscathed.
What happened in that run anyway?
Well, it basically stood up on the tyres, smoked the tyres. One of the inside, the left-hand tyre gripped, and the right-hand one didn't, and just flicked the car around, and that was it.
You arrived here at 6 o'clock, well after scrutineering. Do you think you'll get a run?
Well, the Andrew Stewart has assured me that if we take the car out there, he'll fit us in somewhere, because we have to do a run in front of the stewards to satisfy them that the car will handle, and it has to be a full-on run.
One of the misconceptions about drag racing is that it looks easy. What do you actually have to do during the run itself?
Well, Ian, we do it all mechanic. We act like little robots in there, and we don't really worry about feeling whether you're scared or anything like that. Everything is done automatically off your hands, right? You stage the car, you have levers to push forward to richen the engine. When you take off, you have to change gears. You push the high-speed button. You lock up the lock-up clutch. There's about 5 or 6 things we have to do in a period of 6 seconds. Then pull the parachute and pull the brake handle on and shut the engine down with the fuel shut off.
And what's the experience at the end of the run?
Well, sure, there's a feeling of exhilaration, but you're mentally logging all that information, how the car reacted going down the track, so that you can come back to the pits and confer with your crew and say, look, we're going to do this or we're going to do that to tune the engine up and go a little bit faster, or whatever we need to do to make the next round.
This car today is a different vehicle to the one at Heathcote. Can you just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, this is the ex-Gary Densham teacher's pet car. It's a beautiful piece. It's a Pluga chrome moly frame. It's a state-of-the-art chassis. Everything about it is the latest you can have, and we are new to this car, fair enough, but the engine is an engine that I've had for quite some time.
Okay, Al Hoffman fired up, ready to race, and here comes Peter Russo around Flowweed Corner, coming into lane 2. Watch the burnout on Hoffman, ladies and gentlemen. He did a quarter-mile burnout almost on the last one. As he boils the tyres on the back of the Dodge Daytona. And Peter Russo making sure he's not going to be outstaged. How about putting your hands together for the two funny car teams out there, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely unbelievable burnouts. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and I can't find the start line.
Yeah, I tell you what's happened up here. We've definitely got a wind change because we never had this on the first run. They are really boiling the tyres up, and we're going to need one of those little flaps open to get the smoke out of here, in actual fact. Both cars set up extremely different. The flames were already coming out of Peter Russo's car, and the strange thing about it, they were coming out much further on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side, whereas what appears to be almost a dead motor in Al Hoffman's car, I can assure you it's certainly not. Just having that much fuel pouring into it for the burnout, then the car comes back, runs a little bit lean while they just back it back, and then you'll see him bring up the richening device on the start line to really get some power into that motor.
Okay, we're looking for Al Hoffman to go into the 5-second zone on this particular run, and I think it is all possible that he's in his favourite lane alongside Peter Russo, and I tell you what, Peter Russo is not going to give him anything over this particular race.
No, Russo really the hero of last year's meeting. Russo was the man who really had the consistency and was the one that ran right through to the final and was the final winner. So that's not the way it's been this particular series, with Hoffman really dominating at every meeting he's attended.
Alan Hoffman out there instructing Alan to go back and do another VHT traction burner. Look at the way Russo hooked up over there on his chirpy.
And okay. Peter Wildman telling him to go back also, so there's no worry about anybody staging first.
Alan Hoffman hands it over to Alan, says it's all yours for this particular run down the quarter mile. Al Hoffman got the pre-stage light on in lane 1. Peter Russo coming into lane 2. Edges in ever so carefully over there in lane 2. He brings on the pre-stage. Let's have a look as he comes into lane 2. The pre-stage light is lit. Russo is staged, ready to race. Waiting on Hoffman to come in lane 1, bringing the stage light on, 1 amber and 1 green. 6:32, I thought that looked like a 5-second run for anybody's money. What a great race, and look at the time out of Peter Russo, a 6:23 at 232 miles an hour to 231 miles an hour for Alan Hoffman across the line first in one of the best funny car runs ever seen here at Calder Park.
Yes, certainly close all the way, Steve. In fact, the only way that Hoffman run that is he actually beat Russo off the mark, because Russo beat him in every other department. The car was quicker and faster at the bottom end. But let's hear it for the crews as they go down there. A well-deserved run, that one, for both crews, ladies and gentlemen, as they go down towards the bottom end.
Jimmy Walton, ladies and gentlemen, 7 times Australian funny car champion. And sounding beautifully sweet, Colin, there in lane 1.
As good as it's ever gone, and I tell you what, Blue Thunder not sounding real bad either.
Jeff Pratt from South Australia, sponsored by the Adelaide Caravan Centre, and I've got a funny feeling that the engine has cut out on Jeff Pratt's car. We'll have to wait and see what happens. In fact, it has. He has pulled off the onto the infield. Jeff Pratt's engine has expired, and that engine almost sounded like that as he came out of the burnout. It sounded as though it just did not want to continue on. So Jimmy Walden's going to go into the final alongside Al Hoffman for the final of the funny car race. And what a sizzler that's going to be.
Oh, what a ripper race that's going to be. Jim Walton, certainly an all-time Australian favourite, and a man that's really showing us how to go drag racing. Al Hoffman, and certainly becoming a crowd favourite here. And of course, there's is also not only a crowd favourite, not only a visitor to our shores, but now is an Australian citizen. So it's fabulous to see. This will be a final very shortly. You're going to see Jim Walton. He doesn't have to hurt the car on this run, but knowing Jim, he'd love to get the first 5-second pass in, Steve.
And he'd love to get lane choice, Colin. That's the main thing. He wants lane choice, and I'm not sure whether the run of Al Hoffman will count earlier on, but if it doesn't, he only has to run quicker than a 6:32 to pick up lane choice in the final.
That's right, anything quicker than a 6:32. Just got a bit excited then and pushed the button the wrong way and yelled in the ears of all the officials.
They got some explicit commentary.
Yes, they certainly knew what a 6:32 was.
Jimmy Walden in the Australian Airlines Burlock Motorsport Pontiac Trans Am. The act of Jimmy Walden starting to really come together in a big way this meeting. The car sounding better than it ever has. As you said before, Cole, this is certainly the crispest I've ever heard this car. It's got everything on it. Dual pumps, dual mags, big fuel injection system, big supercharger. It's got everything that it can possibly have to make it run 5 seconds over the quarter mile.
And the driver's got big boots.
Jimmy Walden on his way and looking good as the Burlock Motorsport funny car goes down the bottom end of the racetrack. Walden shuts it off for a 6.54. A 6.54 for Jimmy Walden at 196 it looks like.
He actually got off the throttle. You can see the flames drop down probably 50 feet before the first of the speed trap, and that's a fair way from the finish line, so Jim knew that that car was going extremely well, and I'd say he's saving it for the final.
Supercharged, methanol burning, big block Chevy powered funny car out there of Tommy Easton, the wild Tommy Easton.
And of course, Tom with the second quickest.
He's sickened.
Yeah, he's sickened for a licking out there right now, and he'll be getting down the track too with a last round win of an 8.06. Let's hope he can get into the 7th once again.
Tommy Easton backs the big block Chevy powered Plymouth Arrow back down the start line. The Warlord Warrior it's called, and of course part of the magnificent Steve Brown Warlord Racing team. Brian Easton, Tommy's brother, doing the VHT duties out there and pokes the torch in through the window to make sure that Tom can see the oil pressure gauge and everything in the car to make sure that everything is set to go in the Warlord Warrior. And look for this to be a record-breaking pass. 760 is the national record for Double B funny car. Let's have a look what the wild Tommy Easton can do out there. And away he goes from the start line. It's a great run for Tommy Easton as he heads down towards the bottom end of the racetrack, and something comes undone about 2/3 track. Stops the clocks with an 8.81 at 109 miles an hour. Not quite sure what happened there, Colin, but obviously something disengaged. Okay, coming into stage. And ready to run. Capitanio's engine sounding more and more horsepower as he heads towards the finish line and stops the clocks with an 8.13. Gary McGrath in the advanced automatic sponsored Dodge Daytona, the guy who's going every which way in drag racing, the quick way. Coming around, and this guy is just so enthusiastic, so desperate for some funny car racing that he comes out and this run just to do a solo run.
Yes, and of course the personal ambition at this present stage of the very short career of Gary McGrath is to see a 6-second pass, and I can assure you if it's a 6.99 he will even be happy with that. And David Hoffman, his partner at Advanced Automatics, giving him a sign to go on.
What a beautiful burnout, ladies and gentlemen. Gary McGrath, put your hands together out there for the Advanced Automatics driver. What a glorious burnout out of the Dodge Daytona. One of the best ones that we've seen tonight out of this guy.
And can't you just feel the confidence building up in these people when you know that you've seen them start their career basically in drag racing, not all that long down the track. And of course, you see the burnout starting to get stronger and stronger, and you just know darn well he's coming to grips with this car and the awesome amount of horsepower that it produces.
And the control he's got over the car now, Colin. You now see him in a burnout, totally in control of the whole situation. And I just hate to think where this guy's going to go in funny car racing, because he's going to be one of the best this country's got to offer in very, very short time indeed. The Advanced Automatic sponsored funny car out there of Gary McGrath. A beautiful racing vehicle, definitely one of the prettiest funny cars on the circuit this year.
And of course, in the opinion of the owner, the best looking car on the circuit.
That engine sounding beautifully sweet. David Hoffman puts down the VHT traction compound underneath Goodyear tyres. He now checks the oil pressure through the window with the torch. Brings his partner in business and partner in drag racing into the VHT traction burnout. And look at the professionalism coming out of this crew as well, Colin.
Yes, they most certainly are. Round about now he moves away and he'll let Gary bring it up into the line himself.
This is a great run for the rookie of drag racing. It's going to be a beauty. Gary McGrath stops the clocks with his first 6-second run in his career, ladies and gentlemen. A 6.86, and look at the speed on the tower. What is the speed on the tower? It's 189 miles an hour. The first 6-second run out of the Advanced Automatics powered funny car.
The problems for Robin Kirby continued. He experienced one of the worst engine explosions seen in Australia when the motor hydraulicked as he was firing up for his mandatory pass. Fortunately, no one was injured, but damage to the engine was severe. Both heads were shattered, and major internal damage included bent rods and crankshaft. Without doubt, Robin Kirby was the hard luck story of this series after his frantic thrash to rebuild the car after round 1 and then to lose an engine in such dramatic fashion.
497.
So the win goes to Mastro.
Okay, we're almost ready to race. We've got both cars fired up. Hoffman is ready to go. Jimmy Walton now firing up, and the body coming down on the Australian Airlines Burlock Motorsport car in lane 2.
I'm wondering what sort of a psychic duel we'll have on the start line this time, Steve, because both these guys very cool in the crisis.
I don't think I can stand another one of those, Colin. Al Hoffman in lane 1. What a magnificent burnout by Al Hoffman, and a beautiful burnout by Jimmy Walton in lane 2. The final of the All-Aussie Coca-Cola Funny Car Challenge. Coca-Cola, of course, the major sponsors here at the All-Aussie Funny Car Challenge over the 3 rounds, not just tonight, but the January 30 meeting and, of course, over in Adelaide National Raceway. As the smoke waffles up over all the hundreds of people still out there watching this final run, Colin, it's a fantastic atmosphere right about now as the 2 cars, the 2 3,000 horsepower plastic fantastics come back into the start line.
Yes, and you can be sure that absolutely everything's set up. They've got nothing to lose now. It doesn't matter what really happens as these cars are absolutely, as you said, loaded for bear on this final run. As much nitro as the motors can take. Probably running about 92% in the tanks.
And noticing that the Warlord USA team now with the sponsorship of VDS Blower Drive Services right here in Melbourne. The preparation of both these crews is going to be unbelievably important on the final run. Helen Hoffman out the front, guiding Elle through his procedure once again, making sure that everything is a-okay. The crew on the Jimmy Walton car doing exactly the same in lane 2. What a final this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take your eyes off the start line. Hoffman is on his way into stage. He's got the pre-stage slide on and ready to go. Waiting on Jimmy Walton to come into lane 2.
Okay, Walton now with the pre-stage and the stage on, and you can be sure of one thing, Hoffman won't move until he's ready, and now it's on.
Goes away, Jimmy Walton has the whole shot. Al Hoffman has blown it. He has fireballed it, and Jimmy Walton goes through and takes the win with a 6.37, but Al Hoffman in a shocking explosion. He has fireballed it in lane 1. What an unbelievable explosion out of the Al Hoffman car.
Okay, we'll get a report as quickly as we can at the bottom end. He's getting out of the car right now. He's walking around, ladies and gentlemen. So
he is
Hoffman
out of the car. And how about putting your hands together for the Jimmy Walton crew taking the final round win. Jimmy Walton in the Australian Airlines car. And let's hope Al Hoffman is a-okay down the bottom end. A shocking explosion out of the Warlord USA car in lane 1.
Yes, he's out of the car. He's gone out of the car and certainly walking around. So there's not a problem down there to the best of our knowledge. We're getting the information as soon as we possibly can. But Hoffman definitely out of the car.
In a fine win for Jim Walton in the Australian Airlines Pontiac Trans Am. Ian Smith was able to speak to an elated Jim Walton and crew.
Well, I'm thrilled a bit about this. We've tried very hard. You know, I wasn't a real ripper ET, but winning races is what it's all about, and the team was very consistent. The preparation tonight was absolutely fantastic, which it always is. But help from the Burlock people and Jim Walton Automatics, and we're just happy to be in the winner's circle for a change and stop all the bad luck.
Seemed to me you had him from the lights. Is that how you saw it?
Well, I think I left on him and I had my head out the window looking for him. I said, come on, Al, come on around me, but he wouldn't come.
It broke our bad luck.
Yeah.
We've been having a lot of bad luck, so we're thrilled to bits now. Sure Ellen will be too.
The only problem is that Mr. Burlock wasn't here tonight to witness all this. You know.
Yeah.
That's the only sad part about tonight, but next time. We're on a roll now, we're on a roll.
While Jim Walton's luck came good at the end of the series, it was the Al Hoffman-Steve Brown combination who dominated the series, with 105 points and $28,000 in prize money, including a bonus of $7,500 for winning the series. Runner-up was Jim Walton on 80 points, followed by Peter Russo, Jeff Pratt, Jim Carter, Gary McGrath, and finally Robin Kirby, who had a string of bad luck in a season he would like to forget.